So hi again, guys. Welcome back to IPL Buck Buck. Today we'll be analyzing the KKR team. Now there's a lot of bias considering the fact that we have two KKR fans on this panel, but we'll try to give you the most impartial team possible and the most impartial
Can you
prediction
specify
possible.
who these two KKR fans are?
It's not you, sir. Let's keep it at that. Okay, fine. Three including me. I can't keep it out any longer. So now, for the first time in this panel, Tom's going to actually introduce the team for us. So, Tom, go ahead.
So opening the bastion, I got Shubman Gill, Nitish Rana. Number 3, Rajpati. Number 4, I'm going Shakib Al Hassan. 5, Owen Morgan. 6, Dinesh Karthik. 7, Andre Russell. 8, Pat Cummins. And then proceed Krishna, Kuldeep Yadav, and Varun Chakrabarti, whichever order. I mean, it's there's so much strength in depth, but for me, they're all in the overseas. You can there are a few other Indian players you can there, especially in the bowling category. But it's sad to see like Tim Seifert, Ben Cutting, Sunil Narine, players that I love, and Lockie Ferguson, who I think he's so harsh not playing him. I think those players, it's a shame you can't just play all the overseas. But yeah, I think I'd love to see Tim Seifert get more of a go. Lockie Ferguson and Pat Cummins is a fantastic opening duo, or even if Lockie Ferguson bowls in the middle. I think Andre Russell, my prediction this year is he might come out of the team very early, even though it'll be impossible, really hard to drop him. If he has another bad few games, you might see like Sunil Narine come in as fellow West Indian. But that's already a lot of spinners. I mean, goodness, if these pitches start turning, KKR going right to the top, they could bowl 20 overs of spin if they wanted.
Akshay, do you have anything to say to that?
No, it's quite interesting 11 that Tom's actually picked. I had picked this 11 for a turning wicket, so at a Chepauk, I'd probably play a Kuldeep, but besides that, I wouldn't play him. A couple of things, instead of Kuldeep, I think I would play a Shivam Mavi, probably, because he offers you some lateral movement with the new ball. Besides that, I'd like to see where Shakib bats if he doesn't bat at 3, considering the fact that he doesn't have too much cricket behind him. So, he was banned for a year, and he doesn't have much match practice behind him. So I don't know whether he'll actually be able to align himself with the brand of cricket Morgan likes to play. We've seen that he sort of revolutionized the English white ball setup, and I think he's going to bring that to KKR as well. And considering that Brendan McCullum is the head coach, both of them are very, very aggressive leaders, or at least were aggressive leaders in their heyday. So I don't know where Al Hassan's actually going to slot in there. What's going to work for them, so it may be a little paradoxical to what I said earlier, is the fact that they have a Morgan, Karthik, and Russell in their middle order. So they are a very flexible middle order. I'd rate them as the best finishing / middle order duo that the tournament has. And a lot of how KKR goes is going to depend on how these 4 players perform, or these 3 players perform. I absolutely love Shubman Gill's batting. I think he's the next big thing. He's probably already a big thing. But I do see him as somebody to, someone part of the leadership group of the Indian cricket team moving forward, considering that he's a potential to play all 3 formats of the game. So I'd love to see Gill there with Rana. Rana's also very, very underrated. I rate him quite highly. I think he is one of the best, if not the best, left-handed southpaw top order batsman playing the IPL. Again, a very dynamic, flexible player, can bat anywhere from the top to the bottom. Rahul Tripathi is an interesting choice at number 3. He's a very flamboyant, expansive player. So he's not your stereotypical number 3 because he's not the most consistent. So he may have a great strike rate, but he's not somebody who's a guaranteed 30 a game or a guaranteed 350, 400 run season, which is interesting for a team like KKR to have him at number 3. Again, I spoke about Shakib Al Hasan, but besides that, I think Tom's done a great job in picking this side. Yeah.
Shiv?
I really like the top 6 that Tom's picked. I'd agree with him. I really like there's 3 righties and 3 lefties. I think it's quite flexible. That 5 to 7 is quite flexible. And for me, Al Hassan comes in. I think Gill and Rana, good opening partnership. Tripathi is fine. Al Hassan is fine. And maybe if you lose too many, if you like lose 2 early wickets, then you would probably want to keep Al Hassan back and then someone send like a Morgan or Karthik up the order maybe. And other than that, Cummings is fine, Krishna is fine. Obviously, if it's a spin friendly wicket, then you're probably taking that second spinner, like a third spinner along with Varun and Shakib, which Tom has picked as Kuldeep. Other than that, there's Mavi, there's Kamil Nagarkoti. But for me, the spinner you really need to look out for is Harbhajan Singh. He's one of the Indian greats. I think if he gets going, then you can't stop him. He has the Punjabi blood in him. So I think he's done great things for the country, and give him a good run of games, and I think he can show glimpses of his legendary career. So I think he's an option for me. Other than that, I think this team has a lot of good depth. I mean, if Russell doesn't perform, then you can bring in someone like a Ben Cutting, or you can go stronger in the bowling and bring in someone like a Lockie Ferguson. You have Sheldon Jackson, you have Tim Seifert, and Vaibhav Arora, Venkatesh Iyer. So I think we have a lot of options, and I think this team is destined for great things with such a brilliant captain as well.
You know, one thing that I sort of took out of Shiv's discussion is Al Hassan not batting at 4. And Tom, I mean, to your delight, Morgan batted at 5 last season and he got 400 runs. So I'd like to see a little more ownership and responsibility and have him slot there at 4. It'd be great to actually see somebody of the caliber of Morgan walking in when the team is 10 for 2, which I don't see him doing, or he hasn't done last year as well. I don't know why, but he likes the role of a finisher, but there are way too many finishers on the side. DK is batting brilliantly. He got a 90 and I think 40 balls in a practice game. And that's Russell's sort of everyday meal. That's what he does day in, day out. So you can't move him up or down. So I'd like to see a Morgan bat at 4 instead of Al Hassan and play Shakib more on the lines of a floater.
I mean, Morgan. I'll go on.
No, it's fine. I was actually going to try and talk about Sunil Narine, who you basically, when you think of KKR, you think of Sunil Narine, as in he's probably the best player to have ever played for the club. And I see that you gentlemen haven't really given him much attention in your deep conversation. So he's someone who's batted in that number 4 spot Akshad's spoken about, and he's been more like a floater. So what do you think the 14th edition of the IPL holds for a player like Sunil Narine?
Oh, I mean, I love Sunil Narine. Here's my phone background for best 2 years, and he's probably the reason why I support KKR. I think where he gets in this team is because of his batting. Even though he's a great bowler, I think the reason he can get in this team is because he's open the batting, and we don't have many like top order batting. That 1, 2, and 3 is probably the weakest point of this team. So if one of them starts faltering, he could be put in the team and play, going open, just Sunil going open, get us a few runs in the power play, as he did successfully for a bit and then not so good for a bit. His bowling speaks for itself. It's amazing to think he's like become underrated, considering he's not getting in this team, even though he's a fantastic player. But it's just the quality of the overseas teams. He'll probably play about a third of the games.
Shiv, do you see Sunil Narine playing at all this season?
So first, I have to start by saying that I think if KKR had a Hall of Fame, I think there would be for me, there would only be 3 people in that Hall of Fame from the 13 years that KKR has played in the IPL, and he would be one of them. But I think obviously they made him change his bowling and he lost his spark. he moved to batting, and while he was hitting the shots, we were enjoying it. But then you look at his batting technique, there is no technique at all. It's just about trying to connect with the bat, and it's really frustrating to watch. There's no technique at all, and I feel sad that we had to rely on him to play as a number two. So I don't know. I think his time with KKR is done. I have massive respect for the guy. He was my favorite KKR player for years, but no, you can't come in over Shakib. So no, not really. There's no spot for him in this team, and I just hope that we can win one more IPL for him, because I'm pretty confident that he won't be part of the franchise next year, and probably won't be a part of the IPL as well.
That's what I was trying to get to. So, Akshat, the next question is directed towards you. As you're the only non-KKR fan in this panel, does the prospect of bowling to a Sunil Narine, or when Sunil Narine's bowling, the prospect of seeing Sunil Narine bowl to another team's batsman, is that prospect still as scary as it was, say, maybe two to 3 years ago?
So even though I am Kolkata based, for some reason I've never sort of fancied the Knight Riders. And I don't know whether it's because of their affiliation with Shah Rukh Khan or Gautam Gambhir being a captain of theirs, but I really not liked the franchise too much. So I may have a biased answer to this, but one thing I'll say for sure is that I have massive respect for someone of the likes of a Sunil Narine, not just because of the skill sets he brings on board, but because of the personality. He's a complete team player. He's batted from 1 to 8. He's bowled in the power play. He's bowled in the depth. He's bowled in the middle over. So he's your ideal team man, and he's somebody you'd always want in your playing 11. So keeping that aside, I think towards the last couple of years, he's really fallen away. Like Shiv mentioned, I think sort of getting caught for the suspect action and having that tweak must have debilitated his confidence. But now I see him more on the lines of a bits and pieces player, somebody who will get you 20 runs max in 10 balls, 11 balls, who won't last more than that, and somebody who you can get a 30-35 off. If you look at the stats of the IPL in the last couple of seasons, he averages at about 18 runs with the bat, and his economy is 8. So on average, you get about 32 runs off his 4 overs, and getting someone like a Shakib in doesn't sort of disbalance the side in any way, because I don't see any reason as to why Shakib can't give you the same figures with the ball, and he gets his batting into the frame of things. And trust me, Shakib's batting over Sunil's batting is something I would prefer any day. He's somebody who batted at 3 for Bangladesh at the World Cup and got 400s. He got the same number of hundreds as Rohit Sharma being just a batsman. And along with that, he took 13, 14 wickets. So in my opinion, he was the player of the tournament of the 2019 World Cup. It was shameful that Bangladesh didn't move ahead by playing the quarters and the semi-finals, and that's the reason he probably didn't get it. But in my opinion, he is one of the best, if not the best, white ball all-rounders, and you can't leave him out of any side.
So now that we've spoken about that, let's talk about Owen Morgan for a second. Now, this is Owen Morgan's first full season as an IPL captain. Now, he's obviously won a World Cup, and his English team is a major favorite for the upcoming T20 World Cup. And Morgan's been involved behind the scenes a lot for KKR now. He's got the English team analyst in for the season. Tom, as a person who's followed Morgan's career more closely than us, what do you think he's going to do differently this season to avoid the mistakes KKR made last season with the team?
I mean, he's just a winner. You talk about, this English team. I'm actually worried about what happens when he stops playing, who that captain is, but that's a different conversation. He knows, even when you think you don't know, he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's just someone in some games you just got to trust the process. We might lose a few games, but if he's the captain, he would have said to the coach, I'm going to be captain for the whole tournament. Do not drop me. Give me. He can kind of pressure's off a little bit, which I think he does even better on, because he won't be dropped. He's been named as captain for the team. And I think actually one of the reasons why Sunil Narine won't get in this team is because he demands fielding, and that is something that Sunil Narine does not bring to a team, is fantastic fielding. So I think he'll just iron out those on-field, those big decisions, those sort of last overs, those, who to bowl when. He's the best captain in the world for me. I would say that, but he just knows how to get the best out of his players. I'm sure he would have studied. Now he's got time. Now he knows he's going to be a captain. He would have studied the whole team. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why they're going to go do good things this year.
Right. Again, I have massive respect for Ian Morgan, and I completely understand what Tom's saying, because in my opinion, as a non-Englishman, I don't think there's anyone who's done more for English cricket than Ian Morgan has done. So what I really like about his leadership style is the aggression that he brings on. The brand of cricket that Englishmen play now, or the England white ball team plays now, is absolutely phenomenal. Single-handedly, they've made nations believe that scoring 350 is chaseable, and that sort of changed the way modern day cricket is played. So I actually look forward to see him do that with the KKR setup, considering the fact that they were the slowest in the power play last year. So don't be surprised to actually see Rana and Gill play with a lot more intent. And besides that, I think the experience and the fact that he's won a World Cup is going to do heaps of wonders for KKR. The last good captain that they had in terms of aggression was Gautam Gambhir, and he won 2 IPLs for KKR. So it'll be interesting to see how Morgan sort of does with this team. He's got an entire season. It's not fair to judge him on the basis of last season, because in a span of 6 weeks, you play 14 games and you get only 7 games to sort of, get your feet in and get ready and understand what the situation is like, to understand the franchise, to understand dynamics. So I think last year was more on the lines of him understanding the background work. And this year you can actually judge him on how he's going to do as a captain. And I feel that he's going to do a great job, and KKR is going to reach the playoffs because of him.
Now, Shiv, my next question is directed towards you. So, do you see Morgan as the captain for only this season, and maybe the team builds with, say, a Shubman Gill for the next auction cycle? Or do you think Morgan's the long-term plan for KKR? For an example, maybe he's the captain for the next cycle as well.
So I'm not sure. See, for me, I think Ian Morgan is 34. He's probably definitely thinking of playing cricket for the next 2 years because of the 2 T20 World Cups. But at 36, 37, you're probably thinking that he's going to consider retirement. And his batting may fall off as well. So I'm not sure there. I think, and I'm pretty confident that Gill is probably not ready to lead a team, definitely not a T20 in T20s. So I think we could see Morgan staying, because I'm pretty confident that McCullum is going to stay. And I think McCullum and Morgan, I think they really connect with each other in terms of the cricket they want. So you could see him staying for, let's say, 2 more seasons, and then you could see someone else taking over. But I wouldn't be too surprised as well if they decide to drop him. I think it will really depend on how we do this year. I think that could be a major factor. But I'd bet, I think he will stay with us for 2 more years. That's what I believe in.
Just from an English point of view, it's going to be interesting because, as you said, he's getting old. And actually, by that time, England themselves, because he plays so many games for us, England might actually be looking to phase him out of captaincy by then. So I think if you're looking for there's no one actually in that team that stands out as a captain apart from Owen Morgan really at the moment. Shubman Gill in a few years, but you're going to have an interesting year next year where can you really commit to Owen Morgan when you know he's going to retire soon and he's an overseas? He probably won't be captain of the England team this time next year because they'll be bringing in someone else. I don't know who that'll be.
I think I disagree with that. I think he's done for England what nobody's been able to do for the last how many ever years you all have played cricket. I think he's definitely going to be captain for the 2 T20 World Cups unless he royally messes up the first one. which is not Owen Morgan. So I don't see him going anywhere before the second T20 World Cup is over in 2022.
Tom, your choice for England captain post Morgan, if you had a name at the top of your head, white ball.
Because I still think Joe Root's a fantastic T20 player, so I'll go with Joe Root. And if not, Liam Livingstone. You've only seen a little bit of Liam Livingstone. I love him. I absolutely love him. He's gonna go. He'll be captain.
Big
You
call.
heard it here first.
I know.
Okay, then let's move on to KKR's over-reliance on Russell. Now, we all remember the 2019 season where KKR won, let's say, 6 games, and I think Russell single-handedly won them maybe 4 to 5 of those games. Now, obviously, last year wasn't the best year for Russell, as we all came to see. Do you still think that already amazing middle order is going to be built around Russell like it was last year, even though he royally messed that up?
So,
Go ahead.
shall go first.
No, you can go first. Sorry.
Right. So I think KKR has done a phenomenal job in the last couple of years. They sort of realized that the middle order was just Andre Russell. And now if you look at the team sheet, you have some quality players around him as well. You have Owen Morgan, you have Dinesh Karthik, you have Shakib. So I don't know if they did this in order to sort of suck off the pressure of Russell, similar to what Maxwell faced. So Maxwell's always been the star of every IPL team he's been at, and he sort of has underperformed because of that star status. But now I feel if you put him with the likes of a Kohli and an ABD, he's sort of under the radar, which will allow him to sort of perform to his potential, to sort of get off that pressure that he was facing in other teams. So similarly, I see Russell to be playing pretty well this season. He's somebody who loves the limelight, and his body language sort of shows us that he absolutely cherishes those moments when he's the man of the match, player of the match, gets those little awards post the ceremony, post the game. So I see him as someone who would want to regain that status, and that sort of intrinsic motivation within him with such a competitive quality batting unit around him will help him perform really well. That's Russell the batsman. Russell the bowler is the part that I'm more worried about because he's crucial to KKR's death bowling performance. And you require those 2 overs from Russell, that 17th and the 20th over, because Morgan as well as DK, when he was captain in Cummins, likes giving Cummins those 2 overs up front and one in the middle over. So he only has one in the death. So Russell's bowling and Russell's fitness is key, I feel, to how KKR's bowling unit performs. So I'd be more worried about his bowling than his batting. And it'd be interesting to see whether he's fit for 14 games or how KKR is going to actually manage his workload. Because if he's playing, he's definitely bowling those 3 overs for you and batting at 6-7. So it'll be interesting to see whether he lasts those 14 games. But I feel this is going to be a good season for Russell because all the pressure is going to be absorbed off him.
Yeah. Shiv, do you had something to add to that?
I really agree with what Akshat said. I think I was thinking the same thing. I think if you look at 2019, we just put so much pressure on him. I mean, the way he played was insane, but there was so much pressure. It's like, Russell, do or die. You do it or we win. You don't do it, we lose. That's just too much pressure on one player. And I think that could be one of the reasons why he collapsed last year, especially as a batsman. And so I think, and it's not Owen Morgan's style to, rely on one player so much, at least according to me. So I think you could see Morgan going up to him and telling him that, we have a good top three. We have DK, we have Karthik, and then there's, if you're playing Mavi, he can bat a bit, Cummings can bat a bit. So I think I can see Morgan telling him, we have a lot of quality around you. Go out, do your best, and don't worry about it so much. And there's no do or die situation this time around, at least not like 2019.
See, for me, I'm going to say he needs pressure on him. I think the reason why he wasn't so good last year is because he thought, there's other players around him that do the same job, and he was just a bit rubbish. I mean, you look at all the times when he's played amazingly is when he's like been the main, not being the main guy, but he's like everything's on him. So you think for Jamaica Tally was how many innings he's played. He is their player, and he's got them single-handedly to a lot of their good places. The years where he's been good for us, we've relied on him a lot. Not going to lie, but I think that's something that he likes. Last year, there's a lot. He didn't have to do much bowling. Batting, it was like you're in there, just go and whack it, and it doesn't matter because we've got other players. And he didn't thrive. And so I think Morgan will actually go and say, you've got to go and do something, otherwise I'm going to play Ben Cutting. And I don't think he'll be afraid to go and do that.
But do you think Ben Cutting can offer that depth over specialism that Russell offers, as Akshat mentioned?
I think that depends. I think maybe not, but then he can do something else with his bowling to make, he doesn't have to have Ben Cutting come in and bowl those last few overs. He could even, get someone who's just going to bowl it in, but, plug up the batsman as a spinner maybe. Get Al Hassan in, maybe, to bowl a few death overs. But I don't think it's as cut as dry for Russell this year. I think he has to perform. I think they'll put some pressure on him because otherwise you're going. I know he's a big name, but so is Sunil Narine. You're going into that big auction. Do you really want to retain him if he does 2 poor seasons?
Han, you spoke about Ben Cutting, but the other alternative I see is getting Russell out, getting Lockie Ferguson in, and moving Cummins to bat at 7. So, I mean, the number 7 essentially has only 10 balls to play, and his role is to get 25. I don't see Cummins to be inefficient at that role, because last season, mind you, he did happen to bat at 7 in a couple of games, and he did fairly decently with the bat. So that would be an interesting option to explore. And moving forward, I don't see KKR retaining a Russell and a Cummins. I see them retaining one, especially next year when it's the mega auction. You're not going to be spending a 17 plus 11, 28 crore on these 2 players. That's not happening. So I see more. I think, and moreover, Cutting doesn't give you that bowling depth. He may strike the ball well at number 7 and give you those 25 of 10, but his bowling is more on the lines of someone who will bowl those cutters in the middle overs, and KKR have plenty options there. I don't see a Varun Chakravarti not controlling the middle overs from one end, and then having either an Al Hassan or a Prasidh Krishna or someone coming in there. So the real issue is death bowling when Russell goes out, and that's why I think someone of the likes of Lockie does a good job there. And I think he picked up 5 wickets last year in a game, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, against Sunrisers.
So he did well as well in purple and gold.
Would you consider playing, let's say, a Venkatesh Iyer as a like-for-like for Russell, and maybe get in Lockie Ferguson instead of that number 10 Indian bowling spot we are very confused about?
So I rate 2 players exceedingly highly, Rituraj Gaikwad and Venkatesh Iyer, because of how well they perform in the 50 overs format. They're not your essential T20 players. So Venkatesh Iyer, I'm afraid to say it, but in the T20 format, he looks a little like Vijay Shankar, a bits and pieces player. And I'll tell you why. He's somebody who's very similar to a batsman like Ajinkya Rahane who takes time to get going. So he'll require those 5-10 balls before he starts striking the ball. And I don't see that that sort of role for him in KKR, because your top 3 and 4 are sort of set. So if he has to play at 5 and 6, he doesn't do it as a batsman, and his bowling is not good enough to get him in as a bowler. He's not a genuine all-rounder. So he's more on the lines of someone who could probably slip in 1 over tops, and he'll require the time when he's batting. So he doesn't make the 11 first choice, unless obviously KKR plagued with like numerous injury issues. So yeah, that's the way I would sort of rate Venkatesh Iyer. But he has done phenomenally well at the domestic circuit, and he's a player to watch out for sure. So if he can add a little bit of firepower to his batting in a couple of seasons, don't be surprised if he's like a star player of one of the teams.
Okay, then. So now, Akshat, where do you think this team's going to finish in the IPL this season?
I think they'll just about make the playoffs and get knocked out in the eliminator.
Okay,
four.
Shiv, let's have your biased opinion.
It's not about being biased. It's about looking at the pros and cons, and then I've come to the conclusion that they're going straight to the top, first place. I already said I see Mumbai at 3, I see DC at 2, I see SRH at 4, and then KKR at 1.
Okay, then. TJ, let's have an unbiased opinion from you, considering Shiv's already mentioned the biased opinion.
I've
I'm
said
gonna go with Akshat and agree. I think we'll just slip in. I think it. When there's those games where it's like we go on net run rate like right near the end, and I think Andre Russell will put out an innings or something and maybe get us in. But yeah, as you said, I don't think much more than that.
Okay, then I guess that sums up our Kolkata Knight Riders discussion. If you like this video, please remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share the video. Again, this is from me, Akshat, Tom, and Shiv. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you for our next analysis.